All right, being 9 o'clock, we'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Houston County Board to order and start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Next item of business is the approval of the agenda. We'll have a copy of the agenda sent to us. Any discussion or changes?
There's going to be a couple things pulled from the agenda, isn't there?
Yeah.
And which ones are those?
Number 3, number 4. I think that's it.
Yep.
So on that, I make a motion to approve the agenda with the exclusion of number 3 and number 4.
Okay.
Motion made and seconded to approve the agenda, excluding items 3 and 4 from the action items. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
And then for the record, could caller 3385 please state your name?
I think they hung up. Wrong number.
All right. Next item of business is approval of the previous minutes from the board meeting of February 2nd, 2021.
So moved.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
We got a motion by Dewey and a second by Teresa to approve the minutes. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Public comment. Anybody on that from the public that wishes to make a comment?
Who is the 7154 number, Allison?
That's Charlene from the Fillmore County Journal.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, hearing no public comment, we'll move on to the COVID-19 update from Public Health. That'll be John. Well, there you go, John. You're muted, but there you go.
Okay. Good morning, commissioners.
Morning.
You going to share that, John, or?
What's that? Oh, goodness.
Just teasing.
That's good. That's good. Okay. COVID-19 update. I'm going to give you a few things, and Heather can chime in as well. Again, the big emphasis with our COVID relief right now is focusing on vaccine. Last Friday, we had a large-scale vaccine clinic at the Four Seasons Community Center in Caledonia. And we vaccinated 407 people that day. So it was really a success. Of that, 85 were second doses and 322 were first doses. As we've noted, the focus of vaccination so far has been on priority groups 1A. We're just about done with that group. And then also 65 and older and E12 education and childcare providers. So I think it bears noting, I mentioned in our committee this morning that Minnesota Department of Health has a dashboard they put out for progress on vaccine. Also in the Star Tribune this morning, it says that the state of Minnesota is in the top 15 or so states in the nation in distribution of vaccine at this point. For us in Houston County, that dashboard shows that we're in the top 10 to 15 counties in the state of Minnesota. A couple of things that I'd qualify that with is, first of all, we're in the neighborhood of 15 to 16% of our population vaccinated. So it's not a real high number. We all would love to see it much higher. But it shows that our work is paying off. The other thing I'd note is that that isn't just a function of county effort. Our county effort, I think, has been significant, but that's a number that includes people who have received vaccines through their employers, like health providers. So, for instance, my wife is a nurse at Gunderson, and she's received her 2 Pfizer vaccines from her employer. We did not give those to her through public health. And so there's a lot of people who are affiliated with either Mayo or Gunderson, who are part of primary health care, who have received vaccines that way. Also, a big partner is the pharmacy partnership that has worked hard to cover all of the long-term care facilities and assisted living, as well as their staff. So when you combine those 3 groups, county, public health, the pharmacy partnership, and the healthcare providers, Houston County is in the top 10 to 15 in the state. So I think that that's encouraging. We still have quite a ways to go. Obviously, if we're only at about 15 to 16% of our population. So our clinic on Friday, I want to state for the record, I couldn't be more proud of our staff. We had people across our agency who have been more than willing to make room in their already busy work schedules to make those vaccine clinics work. We had everything from support staff to nurses, obviously, to social workers, leadership team. It takes all of us to make something like that work. We also had several volunteers from the community, and we will continue to use volunteers as they are registered through Minnesota Responds. It just was a really encouraging day. We got a lot of really positive feedback from people who were at the clinic. They appreciate what we're doing, and I think a lot of excitement for the fact that we're moving into a time of getting people vaccinated, and it's hopeful that that is the path out of this long COVID deal. Heather, do you want to add anything about the event on Friday?
Not really, other than every time we do it, we're learning something and we're making adjustments. We're trying to keep it as efficient as possible. Typically, people are in and out in about 20-ish minutes, which includes the checking in, vaccination, and their 15-minute wait time. There were individuals, if they arrive too early, that's where we kind of get bottled up. But we're learning as we go, and really encouraging people to not show up early. In the time of COVID, every appointment that we've all had in the last year, it's don't arrive early, just kind of try to come on time, because we don't have the capacity for a large waiting area. So
all of those vaccinations are timed as far as appointments.
Yeah,
the vaccine
software that we use, once we indicate how many doses and staff we have, it creates a schedule. So someone, might have appointments at 9:23, 9:27, so it kind of gets, it seems kind of tedious, but it has been working, and it spaces people apart just far enough to keep everything flowing pretty well. I think the weather we had the day before was indicative of some people coming a little bit early. They were unsure of how the roads were going to be, kind of that Minnesota preparation. When you have a snowstorm, you're not sure what the next morning roads are going to be like. So that's understandable too. People just wanted to be there so they didn't miss their time.
That was probably the biggest challenge, is the combination of the snowstorm the day before and frigid weather the day of, and trying to keep people properly distanced while they're in the vaccination area and not get too many people in there. So if you talk to constituents, just remind them, come to their appointment as close to the time as possible. I've kind of, one of my roles has been the door guy or bouncer, and just keeping people coming in and metering them as they come in. And it's hard when it's really cold. I sure don't want to keep people out in the cold, but encourage people to stay in their cars or come as close to their appointment as possible. So as Heather mentioned, we use a computerized system for appointments, and it brings people through at a pretty steady clip. Bob was there at a time when we were humming, and we kind of hummed like that for the whole day. So, but we have another vaccine clinic planned for this Friday. Unfortunately, not as many doses were shipped to us this week, so it'll be slightly smaller. But our commitment from public health is that as soon as we get vaccine shipped to us, we're planning to get it out the door as quickly as possible. There's great demand for it in our county, and there's great demand for vaccine anywhere. So if anybody's sitting on it, they're not going to sit on it long, or they won't be getting much more. And so we're trying to be as responsive to that and as flexible and being able to schedule staff and volunteers to get it out the door as quickly as possible. One other thing I'd note is, I think I mentioned at a previous board meeting that there was the potential of some additional vaccine grant dollars coming our way. That happened and came through our joint board of health. We were informed by Fillmore County that we received a grant for the two counties of a little over $89,000. So we'll be splitting that 50-50, and that will help offset some of our costs, some of our staffing costs, as well as equipment and materials and things that we've needed to purchase. And it also will help us pay for the time that we're using at the Four Seasons. And that's been a priority for me. I've mentioned it. I can't remember if I've mentioned it at this board or at our committee, but the Four Seasons is one of the organizations that has suffered with shutdowns and restrictions in due to COVID. So if we can help them with dollars that are intended for vaccine response, we definitely will. So that's our plan. They've been great to work with. I've worked with Barb, and we've put together a use agreement, and so I'm encouraged that what we were anticipating in support that came from Congress at the end of the year has now kind of made its way to Houston County. Do you have anything else you want to add, Heather?
Not at this time, unless there's questions.
I heard on the news this morning that Gunderson did not receive an adequate amount of vaccine, so they now have to cancel the appointments, some of them that they've made weeks in advance.
Yeah,
You don't make your appointments until you receive the vaccine, do you? Or how do you do it?
we how it gets shipped to healthcare and how it gets shipped to local public health is a little bit different. Those private healthcare systems have a little bit more means to go right to the manufacturer and do a direct purchase, which some of our healthcare partners have done, and a direct purchase of the vaccine versus waiting for the state allotment to come their way. So we get notified. We don't get much notice. Often that comes Friday after work hours, after business hours. what our potential kind of allotment is for the next week. And we have a window of time to respond to that and say, yes, we're ready to receive that. And then, that might come on a Tuesday or on a Wednesday. We don't really know. I was hoping that by the end of January, we had kind of would have established a pattern of when we would get that, some sort of a schedule, so we could, it's helpful for us with staffing. It's helpful for the public to know what to expect. We haven't had a real consistent delivery. I think that's developing. So hopefully we can do that more. Having it on Fridays has been helpful. But again, we realize not everyone's able to do it on a Friday. So we'll do our best to be as accommodating as we can. But it's also something where we don't have the flexibility of just administering 1 or 2 doses. Once we pierce a vial, we have to give the entire vial within 6 hours. So we have to have a plan for how we're going to do that when it's a smaller number of people.
Okay.
You commented that you're going to have another mass vaccine this week. Where is that going to be?
That'll be at the Four Seasons as well, and we're planning that for Friday.
I assume you're utilizing that because of the central location and so on. Any thought for northeastern part of the county in the future when we get a lot of vaccine for the convenience of the northeast part?
We would love to do that. There's 2 things that are difficult. I think you hit on one, the limited supply and what it takes to put together a vaccination clinic, spreading our staff to multiple places, and we have limited supply. So for the foreseeable future, our plan is to stay in a central location in Caledonia like that. The other thing that's kind of a challenge is the vaccine itself is kind of touchy with travel. And so taking, a vial here, a vial there, or whatever is kind of hard. We recognize that people would prefer if we could be in each of the major communities, and we would love to do that as well. But the time we have to get rid of it and the kind of fragile nature of the vaccine and the fact that there's very little of it is kind of forcing our hand at this point. I think you make an interesting and a valid point, Commissioner, in that as we have more vaccine coming to us, because I assume that at some point there will be a lot of vaccine, then I think we could potentially look at setting up vaccine clinics in different communities for different days. But doing them simultaneously, I don't know that we have the staffing to support that. But maybe we, down the road, we could do something where we do a Wednesday in La Crescent and a Friday in Caledonia, or something like that.
Very good. Appreciate that. Thank you.
It's definitely something that's on our radar and something that we've been thinking about. But our initial plan has been to kind of have all of our eggs in kind of a central basket in Caledonia for the reasons I noted.
And when I stopped at the Four Seasons, it was going very well. There's plenty of parking. The rooms inside were first dose, second dose. It was split which side of the room you were going to, and it was very smooth operation as far as that's concerned, but parking was a big thing.
So are all your doses used up for Friday?
I'll defer that to Heather. I know we're in the process of scheduling, and she can probably give a better up-to-date on that.
Yeah, not yet. We're in the process of scheduling that clinic for Friday. Some of the doses that will be coming to us for our Friday clinic are earmarked for E12 education and childcare. So we have to schedule those clinics a little bit differently. So 100 of those doses are for that specific population, and so we want to be mindful of scheduling that. It'll probably might be a little bit similar to what Bob had just alluded to, second dose, first dose, where we kind of have that specific population funneled to a certain area, certain tables providing that. So usually once we get that link out to schedule, those appointments fill pretty quickly, but certainly once we have those logistics finalized, we want to get that out to people as soon as possible so they can make arrangements for transportation if that's necessary or anything like that.
Well,
So-
I had an appointment for the 19th of February in Gunderson, and now I got an email saying that they don't have the vaccine. So my appointment is in limbo right now. So I can maybe go on your website and maybe get in Caledonia on a Friday then maybe.
Yeah, you fill out our form, Greg, you will be on our list and we will gladly vaccinate you.
Fill out, fill out.
Ahead of you, maybe.
Is that going to be the butt, in fact?
An extra big needle for me. I got enough there.
I think you make a really good point, Commissioner Myrie, in that we've been trying to say to people, any list that you can get on, you probably should, because the timing of when vaccine comes is very difficult to predict. As Heather mentioned earlier, healthcare receives vaccine in a different interval than we do. And it's been really difficult for us to figure out exactly how much we'll get each week.
Who
Literally,
determines that, John?
it's MDH, and I don't know. I don't have enough time in the day to try and figure out their algorithm. But some counties this week are receiving no vaccine, where some are receiving some, and I don't know if it's related to how much we're using and the fact that they send out surveys each week saying, how many do you think you need to finish this population? How many do you have on hand? The fact that we say we've got nothing on hand, I'm guessing that helps us in getting vaccine for the coming week, but I don't know what their formula is. So it's really difficult to predict, and that's why we don't do any scheduling until we know how many we have. And it's a 1 or 2 day window as we're filling those clinics. And right now we've had a total of over 2,000 people who have filled out our JOT form online, and we've vaccinated several hundred of those folks. So it's, there's definitely demand, and that's good. And we're making a dent in it, and that's good too.
Mhm.
So, Greg, you got to fill out your JOT form.
It's easy to do.
That's the moral of the story.
I got to get my wife to come home and do that first.
You guys have any other questions?
Well, I was just curious in how that's determined and how much you get each week, if at all. If you put in requests or they just send them out to you. It sounds like it's just a hit and miss kind of a deal. So
Yeah, once MDH gets their heads up what they're getting, the surveys they send out, I would say I would give Audrey Stegemeyer a lot of credit here. The relationships that we've built with our partners, school, community, businesses, chambers, the faith communities, all of that helps us know what our numbers are in these priority populations. Granted, there's still going to be people that get it elsewhere, or there's going to be people that choose not to get the vaccine. But the bottom line is, the groundwork that we've done to be able to predict what our numbers are going to be, that helps us answer those surveys very quickly. And when the turnaround time on these surveys are sometimes hours that they'll say, they'll send it at 3:00 in the afternoon and say, submit this by 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And so it might be, what do you have in priority 1A, part 3 left to do? So Audrey has looked at and communicated with all of those individuals to find out what is our large group and what is needed. She preemptively looked at school populations, daycares, childcare centers, and things like that. So that's helped us to very efficiently answer those surveys. I know on the social services side with our daycare licensor, getting those communications out to our daycares from someone they're used to getting information from is also helpful. So it really is a partnership effort to get that out. And the quicker we answer those surveys and demonstrate, yep, this is what we know we need, this is what we have on hand. And once we do the vaccination clinics, those are automatically uploaded into MIC, which is the Minnesota immunization information connection or like an exchange. And so MDH can see almost in real time, wow, we sent Houston 200 doses and they've now uploaded 200 into MIC for tracking. So they can see what we're doing even without us telling them that. So that's a really important factor in demonstrating the fact that we have a need and we can get the doses out that we say we can get out the door with the staff that we have. And obviously each clinic we're utilizing volunteers because we just don't have the nurse manpower to do these clinics on this scale without, our wonderful volunteers who have stepped up and helped us do that.
Mhm.
Well, it just goes to show what top notch you guys are on getting this information and having it in hand and having it ready for that survey that it's coming at 3:00 in the afternoon instead of 8. So I just, kudos to you guys on doing an excellent job.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. One last thing I'd mention, I think Heather noted that I think it's important to note that the state is kind of in a similar situation. We're one of 87 counties. They're one of 50 states. And so they are wondering each week what kind of shipments of vaccine they're going to get. And it's nowhere near what the demand is. So it's a larger version of what we're experiencing. And I think what you drew from Heather's comments is exactly right. The quality of our folks who are thinking ahead and thinking through, what the numbers are in those specific populations and being able to respond to those surveys to the state in a very timely manner has served us really well.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
Anything else?
All I've got, unless there's other questions.
Thanks, guys.
John and Heather?
Talk to you later.
You bet. Moving on to the consent agenda. Only one item on there, changing Nicole Conkle's employment status from probationary deputy auditor treasurer and the license center to a regular status B22 step 2 effective February 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we will vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Very good. Motion carries. Now we go to action items. First action item, consider approving the MOA One Watershed, One Plan Mississippi River, Winona, La Crescent Watershed Memorandum of Agreement. Mr. Wermager.
Yeah, so just to give you a little overview on that, I don't know if you've read through it, but this is One Watershed, One Plan, just like the Root River One Watershed, One Plan that we've had for a few years now. That covers 95% of the county and everything except for that Pine Creek watershed by La Crescent there. So this plan would include that Pine Creek watershed, and then once this gets passed in a couple years, if everything goes smooth, we'd be completely covered under these comprehensive water plans as opposed to our local county water plan. And so far, the Root River one has been awesome. We've been getting a lot of stable funding right from the state, as opposed to, I guess, back in the day before this, a lot of our funding was competitive grant funding. And it kind of seemed like, whoever had the best grant writers got most of the money. A lot of it went to the metro area, apparently. So this has been good, a lot more stable funding, and we've been able to get a lot of good projects done with it. Especially last year, the weather cooperated. It was really nice. We got a lot of big grade stabilization structures and grass waterways done. And a lot of times we've been able to piggyback the federal funding with this funding to get people up to that 90% cost share rate, which is especially nice for these bigger projects, and even at 90%, it's still, a couple grand out of pocket for these guys. But yeah, it's been really good. Yeah, this MOA, is just an agreement between the counties, the SWCDs. There's one watershed district up there, Winona County, and the city of Winona. They're all on the main committee, the policy committee for this, who make all the decisions. And the Winona County Water Planner, they're going to be the administrative agent, kind of running, organizing this whole process to get the plan up and running. And they wanted River SWCD to be the fiscal agent. We're only like 4% of the whole plan area. So, they figured that would look the best if, we're the least involved. We'd be in charge of keeping track of the budget. I guess we'd have the least to gain if we were gonna embezzle funds or something. So, yep, Winona's the administrative agent. We're the fiscal agent. I guess in 2016, you guys passed a resolution of support for this plan, and it just took a few years to get all the commissioners from the other counties on board. So this is the MOA. So, yeah, any questions?
How many representatives from the city of Winona are on that?
Just one, as far as I know.
Okay. So what are some of the main projects you're going to be focused on? Maybe Dave can answer that more too, but for Pine Creek, is there going to be a focus on bank stabilization because that's such a windy back and forth creek? Or
Yes.
Yeah. Good comment there, Eric. So this first year is going to be developing the plan, writing the plan. And that's exactly our thoughts, that Pine Creek is so flashy and such high banks, and and it's so in size that's going to be our huge focus, is going to be stream bank stabilization, along with wildlife habitat, fish habitat, and also grade staves up these draws to try to slow some of that water down too. Visiting with Winona County SWCD, getting some of their upper reaches taken care of is a huge project measure as well, to try to get that water treated before it even gets to the county line. So we're pretty excited about it for sure.
Being 4% of the total, what's the expectation of actually getting funding to do the things you're talking about down on our end, since we're such a small portion of the overall project?
Right. Just looking back at the River One Watershed One Plan, the funding has been excellent, like Dan said, and the counties that we work with are really understanding and good to work with. We're expecting quite a bit. The problem with stream banks is that they're really expensive when you start talking about armoring the banks and getting equipment in there to flatten the slopes out and stuff. So they are expensive, but we've been doing them throughout the county, and it sure works out really good for us. But yeah, we're expecting good funding. It's kind of a different watershed. Eric's been going to the meetings, and the river is it was 1.3 million acres coming through the watershed there. And this one's a little bit different because you have so many side breaches going into the Mississippi. You got small watersheds going through like Homer and Pickwick and Twin Bluffs, all those really small watersheds. So it is a little bit different. The Whitewater watershed is probably the biggest in this area, but we are looking to make a change for, especially coming down through the city of La Crescent.
Okay. Being the finance, you guys take care of the record keeping of the finances and whatnot. Is there part of the funding allocated to reimburse you for the cost of that, or is that just out of your pocket?
Nope, nope. There's funding set aside. So, like with the River One Watershed One Plan, Fillmore SWCD is the day-to-day, so they get funding through that. And then Winona County SWCD is the fiscal agent, and they get funding for that. So, being that this is a smaller watershed, it's not going to be like this last round of funding for the river was 1.4 million, and we're expecting less than that because it is a smaller watershed. But with that being said, there probably is going to be less work as the fiscal agent for that, so it'll all balance out at the end.
Is there a way for people in our county and our end of the watershed to get notice of this formalization of the watershed district, or has that already been done?
Yeah, it's always a work in process. So Dan here, he's a conservation planner certified, and we'll be targeting that watershed, and we'll be doing farmer visits and farm walkovers to point out resource concerns. And then of course it's voluntary program, so we'll give recommendations, and then from those recommendations they can decide on what projects they want to do first. We can spread them out over 3-4 years. We have other cost share programs that we can piggyback on here through federal and local cost share programs. So definitely the word will get out.
Yeah, and then when we're in the process of writing this plan and putting it all together, there's lots of public comment periods, right?
Right.
There's periods for public input, and we consider all the public comments and add them if they make sense. Yep. So I think it says they plan to have it done in like early 2023. So it'll be a long process, but yeah, there'll be plenty of time for public comment there as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
I actually am the commissioner on this WinLAC board, and I was very impressed with their first meeting last month, where each watershed area, Whitewater, Wabasha, Olmsted has a small portion of it too, don't they?
Correct.
And
Yep.
Winona's a big one, and then our portion. And the presentations were very, very interesting, and every county and their attorneys have reviewed the plan, and now we have to get the MOA signed and confirmed so we can move forward on it. So
Yep.
I would make a motion to approve the MOA for the One Watershed, One Plan for WinLAC.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
And carries. Thank you, guys. Appreciate the input.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. If I could just make one more quick comment. Over the years, I put together a tour for you folks to go on, and kind of got shut down because of the COVID stuff. And I'd really like to get that going again here, especially with Dewey being new on the board. I'd like to show him a lot of good projects that we've been doing too and stuff. So hopefully this year we'll get her going again. If not, we'll try to get something to work out.
That was my favorite part of the year, is going on that tour.
A lot of good stuff going on, and yeah, it's always a good tour. I know Bob and Eric's been out a little bit here, and Greg's been paying attention too. So it's all great stuff.
Good deal. Thank you.
Keep in contact.
Next action item is to consider approving the Resolution 2111 Local Agency Bond Resolution. Brian.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. As part of the process for using the bond money and how it works together with state aid, and the construction and maintenance allotments. We need to approve another resolution that gets submitted up to MnDOT State Aid. So they did send their approval letter of everything we've done to date on the bond sale. So this is kind of like the next steps and one of the final steps. So if I can get approval of this resolution, we'll get it sent on to the state.
Any questions, or is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve it. Brian did explain it at our committee meeting this morning. It's just part of the legal process.
I'll second it then.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
And carries. So Brian, we've removed items 3 and 4 from our agenda. So we'll move on to item 5. That's change order number 3 to install a colored painted roof over the highway office in lieu of the galvanized aluminum as originally proposed. Brian?
Yes, so the original bid for the highway shop facility had pricing in there for the Galvalume roof, so the standard bare metal roof color. The proposal is to change the roof color over the office space to a painted roof. A colored roof looks a little bit more complete and not quite so industrial looking. The remainder of the building for over the shop area, the storage would all remain the Galvalume because that's cheaper. So the cost to use the painted roof over the shop is more expensive. So the proposal brought forward to you today would be the change order number 3 to change to the painted roof at an increased cost of $22,240.90.
What color is it going to be? Purple?
No. We're talking about
Gold. There we go.
I'm trying to remember if we ultimately went with a brown roof or is this is more of the tan.
It's tan roof, isn't it? Because the upper part was tan and the trim was going to be a darker.
Yeah, that's what I kind of recall too. At first we proposed a brown roof, but then with availability and pricing and recommendations to go with a lighter color, so we went with the tan.
It's going to be tan and then a dark, kind of a darkish bronze for trim. And that's why we figured on the office section, the lower section of the building, you'll be able to see that from the street. And if you put aluminum colored roofing on that, it'll clash against the higher part of the big shop area and it would look kind of dumb. So I think, yeah, you got to have some good looks here. So yeah. It makes sense to do it.
But tan is so boring.
Well, you know,
how about red?
I wanted to go gray and dark gray, but that was voted out. So but it's more of our standard color to match with what other county buildings are. So
also got to look at fade over the years too. You know, some of these colors fade easier than other colors.
Yep, the darker the color, the more fade. So stay with a lighter color. Yep.
Yeah,
that would end up pink. I don't think we want to do that.
So I make a motion. We consider approving the change order number 3.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to approve change order number 3 regarding the color of the roof on the highway office in lieu. Further discussion? Hearing none, we vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Action item number 6, consider approval of the State of Minnesota OSA 2020 engagement letter authorizing signatures. Carol.
This is the standard letter we sign with the Office of the State Auditors each year in conjunction with them auditing our books. They have started certain aspects of it. They're actually busy helping audit the CARES funding grants. So they haven't they haven't hit us really hard yet. That'll come in March. So this outlines their expectations of us and what we will put together for them and have available.
Has this changed from previous year letters?
Nope.
I make a motion, we approve the state engagement letter and authorize the board chair and finance director.
Okay.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
You know, I'm on quite a few joint power boards, and a lot of them are going with independent auditors instead of the state because it's so much cheaper for the county. Have we ever looked into that? No.
I don't think so. Well, Teresa, you've been on here longer than the rest of us. Has it always been the state?
It's always been the state.
Carol, do we have-
And I have worked well with the state too, but I just know that other counties, including Fillmore, Mower, it's Mower, not Mower.
Yeah, that's right. You're right. It is more. I got corrected on that one time. Remember that.
Anyway, quite a few of them have gone independent because of the costs. The state has been very expensive and use a lot of trainees. I don't know if we ever want to consider that, or we're pretty in tune with the state over the years, I know. But
Well, it's something that
We have had them before, but with the limited number of staffing that we have, the expertise and the assistance that they provide to us probably saves us having to hire additional staff. They don't use trainees necessarily. I mean, we have Carla, who's been with the state auditor's office for as long as I've worked for the county. Carrie has been the same. Dylan, they're hired as CPAs, so they do provide a real. Our people here really appreciate what they do for us.
So if we were to hire an independent auditor, we would have to provide more preparation for them, more work?
Yes.
initially,
Every year.
Well, you know, my old township, they do it every year. They have an audit because of their money that they take in. So they get it audited every year, and they have an independent that does it, and it costs them damn near $4,000 a year. And that's just for the township with a budget of $220,000. It must get pretty costly for county.
Yeah, we do pay around $60,000. And we could probably bring that down to $40,000, and then we would need additional staff.
For a short period of time or for like longer periods of time?
Oh, forever.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
well, forever's a long time, Carol, I'll tell you.
It is. It is, I tell you. And it's not something that we can't look at down the road too. We would have to indicate to them prior to August, I believe, of this year if we were going to consider
Well,
that. It's a 2-year or a 3-year type of rotation. Like we said, we would have them for the next 3 years. So
yeah. I know with EMS,
we're at right now.
they used to always have the state do their audit, and it was like 15 to 20,000, and they went with an independent in Rochester, and it's now 5,000. So there was a cost savings, especially for a very small organization like that. But I'm not opposing the motion at all. I'm just bringing up, it might be worth looking into.
Yep, I agree. It's something worth looking into and investigate and get some more detail on.
3,000 on our budget, that might help.
Yep.
until we hire somebody to assist the office in getting ready for the audit. I mean, if we save 20
Well,
to
when
hire
PMS went with independent, they provided the staff to work with the office to get everything together correctly. I don't know. It's something to look into is all I'm saying.
That's something we need to verify if that's, truly the case. Yep.
I know the city of Caledonia audit runs into that $20,000 bracket.
Hmm. Okay, well, call for the question.
And we also kind of look at Fillmore County, who had an independent auditor, and they ended up having to have their books all re-audited because they didn't do the procedures. The information wasn't presented to actually reflect how it needed to be.
Yeah, they had a problem.
And I have to apologize. My internet connection keeps going on and off. So I don't mean to interrupt someone if you're actually talking and I start. You're all kind of frozen for a while.
I have the same problem.
It's that cold outside though, too.
Yep. So we've got a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Anything else? Otherwise, let's vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Action item number 7, consider the request for board ratification of MCCC Amendment number 7, Maintenance and Support Agreement, Property Tax. Carol.
So this is actually an amendment or an extension of our contract with MCCC, who we contract with Avenue for our tax system support. As I've indicated, we are working towards a Windows-based system as opposed to an AS400-based system. It is in the works, but our current contract for support ends for the program we're using. So we need to extend that through 2023, which I can't see us actually migrating before 2023. So we need to continue our support for the tax system. And as I said, they referenced the CAMA system, but we use CAMAvision through Vanguard. So this is to maintain our property taxation system.
That we've been doing this. Yeah. All right.
Right.
I'll make a motion that we keep this up.
Motion's made for ratification. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
I did want to also add that I did have Sam look at it, and like he said, it's kind of one of those things where, what else are we going to do? Because we don't have programmers on staff to make any changes, legislative changes that are approved, that kind of thing. So, yeah, here we are.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Action item number 8, consider request for the transfer of $500,000 from Road and Bridge funds to 37-809 Capital Project Highway Facility to cover the 2021-01-31 fund deficit after the project payments approved on, look at this, 2021-01-26. We approved this 5 years from now. Is there a motion to approve the transfer?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the transfer of $500,000. Further discussion?
This is to cover expenses during the project, basically.
This is to cover the payments that have actually been made. So the total that we've transferred of our funds to cover the project will be $650,000.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next is item number 9, consider approval of the 2021-2023 Law Enforcement Labor Services Local 237 Licensed Deputies Unit in the County of Houston. Test? Maybe Test isn't with us anymore. Oh, there you are. Sorry.
Tess?
Your turn.
Your turn. Are you not receiving?
Did you hear us?
She can hear us, but she can't talk. Maybe she can't hear us. One moment. Nope.
Why don't we move to 10 and we can come back?
Okay. Consider the approving the grant extension as presented and authorized for myself to sign DocuSign documents. John?
Good morning again, Commissioners. This is an extension of the Children's Mental Health Grant that we customarily get. It's something we've done for a number of years. I think the thing that's unusual about it and why I bring it before you today is it's part of a DocuSign process. So the state is moving slowly to a digital paperless approach to contracting. And so where customarily we would bring a paper copy to the board and what have you, what you're doing today is approving the acceptance of this grant and approving Bob to sign the DocuSign documents. Bethany identified Bob as chair of the board to be the signatory, and so that's how that'll operate. I believe Bethany's on as well. And Bethany, could you give just kind of a quick update of a summary of what we use this grant money for?
Sure. We use the Children's Mental Health Grant money in traditional and non-traditional ways. So traditional is respite care. If we have a family who has a child that qualifies for Children's Mental Health Services, we can pay one of our foster parents or a neighbor to have the child stay with them for a night or two so that the family can have a break. So we use that. Use it that way. And then our non-traditional services are we can help families pay for an instrument rental or pay for the child to go to a summer camp. Anything that is going to help improve the family's ability to care for the child and keep the child in the home is normally an expense that we can cover under this grant.
It's a good grant.
It is. It's a very good grant.
Sounds good to me. I move to authorize the signatures.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded to authorize the docu-signing of the grant format. Further discussion? Hearing none, we vote by roll.
District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
One thing I'll note on this, if the state's going to be using this DocuSign thing, if it's the board chair, whoever's the chair at the time, is it also sent to the county auditor or somebody so that it can come before the board before the signature is done?
Yeah, we follow the same process. It's just the signature portion of it is different. The documents that we received from the state prior to this were the award letter, and then I also attached Bethany's work in a budget for how we intend to use the dollars. And once we have an actual document, that'll go through the customary process of having Sam look at it and what have you prior to signature.
The board chair will not get this without having whatever department. I mean, this is not just Health and Human Services. I mean, other departments could get this too if they're going that way. But it won't come to the board chair until the information has been presented to the board itself for approval.
Correct. And you know, as any new process, we sometimes
that's been cleared up. When I was board chair, there was we found that little mistake there, Bob, and it's been taken care of as far as making sure it's being reviewed by the county attorney or the board.
But if the state is going that way, do they know to send the approval information to the board before they send the signatory statement to the chair?
I think what happened is it came to us and we forwarded the information to Eric. And it's as much on us because I was thinking, okay, Eric, don't sign this until it comes to the board, but I didn't say that. And so he got this thing to sign and he signed it. And so I think that the state isn't going to just send something to the board chair and say sign.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
I'm bad.
Backing up to number 9. Backing up to number 9.
Thanks a lot, guys.
The approval of the 21-23 Law Enforcement Labor Services Agreement with Local 237. Tess? Nope. I see your lips. I can read lips now. It says, can you hear me? Nope. Can't hear you now. You'd swear that
Commercial like that. Can you hear me now?
You can almost present this one.
Well, what this is the Law Enforcement Labor Services Agreement with Local 237, the Deputies unit. And it was agreed upon with a 2.5% COLA for a 1 year with a revisit of years 22 and 23 after that. So it's a 1 year agreement. It's a 3-year contract, 1 year agreement on the 2.5% with a revisit on 22 and 23.
or wages.
Yep.
Wages, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We discussed this before, I believe, before we went and finalized, I think.
You are correct.
And they agreed to it, and now we can bring it for a motion to.
This will make it final approval. Yep.
And it's
I'll make a motion to approve the negotiation agreement with, which one was it, Len?
It's a local.
Yeah.
Yep. Local 237. I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion?
This is for 1 year, right?
On the wages, the rest of the contract is 3 years.
Mute here.
Oh, now we have tests. So
For chair.
My apologies. I don't know what's wrong with the audio on my machine. I missed your conversation as I was looking for an office.
Actually, Eric explained the whole thing for you, Tess, and we just made a motion to accept the contract.
Okay. If there's any other questions, I'm happy to stand for them.
What's wrong with your computer?
Hold on, it got froze outside.
Froze, yeah.
No, I read everything. It looks good to me, so.
Yes.
I'll call the question if that's all right. We'll vote by roll.
Thank you. District 1?
Musical chairs, yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
Motion carries. So that's the extent of our action items. Next is board discussion items. A couple of things I'll bring up before we get started. A notation that the Meyer building, which houses part of the Health and Human Services as well as the VSO and the extension, one of the furnaces there went kaput. I think it has a cracked plenum and they have to replace it. So temperature wise, this isn't a good time of the year for that, but I think they're working on replacing that today. Robert in the VSO office is using thermal heat, electric heaters to keep his office warm. But so that's an ongoing thing that's got to get fixed. A report on that committee with regard to waste and recycle program. I've got people, I got somebody from La Cresse and somebody from Caledonia. I got a call into the chairman of the Township Association asking him to give me 2 different township people that would be willing to serve on that, as well as Greg from Richard Sanitation, Jerry Martell from the industry, and then of course somebody from our office. One question I had on that is, would this go to the committee or are we going to make this a new committee?
We don't have a committee, actually. It was Greg and I working with the township fees structure at the time.
Right.
We had
the question of who from the board should we have for representation? We can have 2. I mean, I can do it. Does anybody want to do it with me?
I can do it with you.
All right. Is that okay if it's myself and Teresa with everybody?
Basically, we're establishing a new committee then to work on us all together. The experience that Teresa's had and leadership of Bob, I think is good.
Okay. All right. Then I guess we're going to ask Allison a question here with regard to the publishing of resolutions. I don't know if everybody saw the email with regard to the cost for publishing that resolution and if we have to publish its entirety or if we can put in a summary and then have it on our website in its entirety.
Yeah, so this last week, or this week in the Argus, the entire bond resolution is going to be in the paper. It's too late to stop it. So in the past, what the county has done is anytime there's been a resolution, it has always been printed in full within the minutes in the newspaper. We typically summarize the minutes in the newspaper, but the resolutions have been printed in their entirety. So we did some research on this yesterday because it was brought to our attention. I mean, this one was very long because it's probably the biggest one we've ever had. It was many pages. So it is going to be costly to print. So according to the statute, and we connected with AMC and we talked to the county attorney on this, it seems that the county can just put a summary of resolutions in the newspaper, but then have them in full, of course, in the minutes on the website. But the commissioners would need to approve that method of doing it going forward. So I don't know if we can just have a general consensus that that's what you would like to do going forward, if that's what you want, or if you want it to depend on what it is or the length of it. So just something to think about.
I think that we should put in the resolution number and a synopsis of what it is and refer them to the website if they want to read it in full. I mean, nobody is going to read 32 pages in the Argus of our bond resolution. Well, maybe there's somebody, but not nobody I know. I think I would even make a motion that we move forward on that because there's no, oh, you don't need a motion, you need a consensus?
It's not on the
Not
action.
an action,
Yeah. Consensus.
consensus.
I agree. I've seen other places where they'll have a synopsis indicating what it is. And for those who wish to go in depth, it's available either at the auditor or they say where it's available. And I think that makes the most sense for the people. If they want to see it entirety, they make the effort.
Yes. I agree. Okay.
Anybody else?
I agree. That's fine. It being that this is for the bond, I think it's important that the public does know what we did, and that information should be out there.
Which it is.
Right. But I think the information about how much the bond is for and what it's being used for, and what maybe even what the payback schedule is, but all those other page after page of information is really, they don't care about that. They just want to know what we're borrowing, how much is it, and what's it going to mean to them.
Right. That's true.
What's the bottom line?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
You agree too, Greg?
Yep, I agree.
You got your consensus, Allison.
Okay, so going forward, we'll do that. You'll see very long legal section in the Argus this week, but that's why. So I was just following, what we had been doing, but it was a learning experience and we'll adjust. So
Yeah, and I appreciate hearing about it and moving it on to Allison and Donna to move forward on it.
Okay. The last thing I was going to mention as far as board updates is the LRIP application format. Brian sent that out. I don't know if everybody got a chance to read it or not, but it's what we approved previously and moving forward with that as far as signature to be sent back to the different entities. He's got a couple of cities and townships and 2 more townships that are looking at things. Is that okay to move forward with that? I think we already approved it, right?
You already approved it.
We did have discussion about that at committee this morning, but there again, until they get approved for this grant, we can readdress what part we play in it after somebody does get a grant.
Okay.
As a board.
Good.
Right now, we're just a fiscal pass-through, but we might need more.
Maybe I jumped the gun on talking about that. Okay. So, commissioner reports and comments.
I suppose I have to start. Actually, I had 3 negotiation meetings, which take up most of the week. And then I did have a extension meeting. Those are always a nice group to work with. There's no controversy there. We are working on finding a farm family of the year. Still hoping to move forward with the fair, but that is all dependent on health, of course. And let's see, what else was there? Nothing. We have a new chair. Carrie, who is it, Carrie?
Carrie Alsted.
Carrie Alsted is our chair of the extension committee. But
We did have beef weigh in on Saturday.
oh yeah, I know they're still moving forward on that kind of thing.
A little chilly.
Exactly. It's a good committee. They really do a good job.
Well, it's kind of tough because they're planning on having a fair, so you gotta do all this stuff ahead of time. So like the beef weigh-in. So let's just hope that it comes to fruition and we can have a fair this year.
Yeah.
I hope so.
And it was good to hear too that the state fair is still open as far as the possibility of having it, from what they were telling us that night. So
Yes.
I've heard rumors that it's already not happening, but according to Lisa, that's not the case. That's still a possibility. Yep.
I hope so.
Yeah, I do.
They
too.
also are making the accommodation. You didn't actually have to bring your steers to get weighed. You could take a picture and send the information in and register them if you
No,
were so inclined to do that. So, even though they're preparing for it in their usual way, they're also making accommodations because
So
here we are.
they better be taking a picture of the right steer here now. I mean,
How did they get weight off of that picture?
yeah.
Well, I'm not sure, about that. That's why I just thought we'll just take them over.
Yeah.
But really, the weigh-in is only for the rate of gain, when it hits August.
Right.
But yeah, the whole picture thing, you don't qualify for the rate of gain if you just send a picture in.
Okay.
So, who's next? Eric, you got anything to report?
No, I was pretty much the same as what Teresa had. Had 3 meetings, negotiated meetings, and extension. The only thing I wanted to bring up is, are we looking at plans of reopening the courthouse here in the near future, or are we going to wait on that? Or I just thought that should be mentioned and talked about.
I see that Winona, the city council, city government opened as of February 1st.
And Winona County's been open too.
Oh, Winona County. Okay.
Caledonia's open, La Crescent, I think, is open.
Maybe
I just know that there's sometimes that there's nobody at the door, so then it's locked and nobody can get in. I think if we should keep it that way, or I mean, if there's nobody at the door, maybe we should leave it open for people to come in, or what's people's thoughts on this?
I think we should open it up and get business back coming to the courthouse.
I
And
think-
get everybody back in the seats.
And masks are required.
Yep.
If it's open and nobody's at the door, who's going to enforce the mask?
Well, if you see somebody rocking around in the hallway, tell them you got to put a mask on. I don't know. I mean, that's what we got to figure out. But it's going to annoy the public if they come to the door, and of course there's nobody there for whatever reason, and then it's locked and it's 10 below, and they're thinking, "Oh, what the heck's going on here?" It's a public building, so
Can we open? I guess I got a question for Tess. Do we have somebody at the door every day? Well, Tess's computer.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
finally. I don't know what I did different. It has been staffed by Auditor Treasurer's Office staff. And in the past, we also have had, when there hasn't been staff available, look to volunteers from other offices in the building to assist with that staffing. Suppose we could take a look at getting that volunteer list together again. And I don't know, I would look to public health for some advisory as they're talking about another round of the virus coming through. But
well, the Christmas, I know we were waiting for the Christmas surge of the gathering of people getting together for Christmas, and I don't know if that's happened or not. I don't know if John or Heather are still on, but
They're not.
yeah, I know they there was some concern I heard about the one of the variants taking hold.
Wow.
That's highly contagious. So I don't know. I'd look to public health for some advice on that before we determine what our options are. But
if we keep it so that masks are required, open the building up, I guess I don't see the problem. If there gets to be a great influx of people, we could have Dylan or somebody take control of traffic control as far as in the hallways or whatever. But I think we should be open for the public. Just my opinion. Just thought I'd bring it out there.
I don't disagree, but I would suggest that if we've got Dylan, that we open up, I'm assuming we're just talking the west door here, and that we open up for the public, but that we have somebody at the desk to direct, to make sure they're wearing a mask and to avoid getting too much, you know, I mean, they can call to the different office that they want to visit and get them lined up if they don't have an appointment. But if we have somebody at the door, I think it's okay to open up and just to provide the security in that regard. He's at the door anyways. He lets them in and lets them out. We just unlock the door, but keep them there.
But if there isn't anybody at the door, then what?
That's why we got to have the schedule and find out the volunteers from the other offices and whatnot.
So we're going to keep it locked until, as long as somebody's.
I think Bob is saying that we can unlock it, but have somebody down there to guide people.
Okay.
Where they're going. Unlock the doors, but have somebody there.
Monitoring at the time.
Yeah. That'd be a good way to start, I think, you know, to have a list of volunteers or Dylan or whoever there and unlock the doors.
I think it's important to have it available for the people to come in. They travel some distance for registration with license plates to do taxes or other information. It is a public building and they see it as their building. And we need to be cautious though and require masking and distancing as every place else. So I think that's important that we look at it. I guess give it a try. If it doesn't work, then we'll have to say, hey folks, you blew it. Now we're gonna have to go back to the old way.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with everything Dewey just said.
Donna, you got any comment?
Yeah, kind of. Last week we had one day where Dylan was not here last Friday, and it worked okay. You know, the girls had a lot of appointments licensed, and they just had to go down and open the door. But and I think, Tess, now you agree the door is working quite well. It is a little colder down there for someone to sit at the door. You know, like if you're gonna sit by that door, you really have to dress warm because by the time the door opens up and it closes, it is chilly, especially this time of year.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to sit down there and maybe unless I was in my snowmobile suit. But
that's exactly what I told Dylan. I said, you might want to wear your snowmobile suit because it's very, very cold. So far he's fine, but he does have a heater down there, but it is cold. So I don't think you'd find too many people who would be willing to sit there. So Dylan does have a day next week that he's going to be gone. So we, you know, I guess if the door was open, and he was there for a while and just, you know, kind of kept reminding people to wear a mask. But I really do feel that if they're, for the most part, most people will wear their mask, but there are a few that they'll just walk in if there's nobody at the door and they'll just, you know, go through the whole building without wearing their mask. And even if somebody would say something, unless you were following them to the office, they probably wouldn't put the mask on. You know, that's my feeling, but for the most part, most people do wear a mask. But it's just like, it's not any different than like Quick Trip. I mean, I've talked to people who said that they've never worn a mask in Quick Trip. I don't know how they get by with it, but they just refuse, you know.
They get by because Quick Trip doesn't enforce requirement of a mask.
Exactly.
As the flight. And you can go in there and 40%, I mean, 4 out of 10 people don't have a mask on, and you're not going to get them to wear a mask because they won't do it.
Exactly.
That's why we need somebody at the door. If we're going to open the door and we have somebody there to enforce the fact that you have to wear a mask if you're coming into the courthouse.
Yeah.
And maintain your social distancing.
Right.
If you don't, we'll call and find out if they got room for you. It's just a control point.
Yeah, that is the only way we're going to keep people in control as if we have somebody at the door.
Right.
Having it open, it might be fine, you know, as long as we have somebody at the door.
I mean, if the door is locked, there has to be someone there, because I had someone, I told them to come on Thursday, the snowstorm day. I said, yeah, you can just drop it off in the lobby because Dylan is there. Well, he came twice and there wasn't anyone there either time. So if we're keeping it locked, someone has to be there. And I don't know, does the city of La Crescent, do they have, or, you know, the county of Winona, do they have someone at the door?
No.
Crescent has where you call in to the clerk, which is just within 10 feet of the front door, and she gets it open. And also, I think they have appointment program or the registration area.
And we have that too. We can still keep that up. I mean, I'm not saying drop that. I'm just saying let's just keep.
Well, I had suggested we put an intercom there so they could, you know, dial their office, but I don't think that came through.
What's that movie that Carlton the Doorman, or there's a TV show or whatever?
Yeah.
You have to yell into the.
Just my thought that in the transition from being wide open, that we have somebody there when we are open, at least to get started.
Yeah.
People understand, and protection of our staff as well, as far as that's concerned. The city of Caledonia doesn't have anybody, but when you come down there, you have to go to a window and talk through a hole in the wall, and you know.
Yeah, and that's basically what we have in each of our offices too now. They were installed.
In plexiglass, yep.
I mean, and maybe the day that Dylan is gone next week would be a test to see how it actually goes without having someone there and having the door open.
Right.
I mean, not, you know, and monitoring who comes in is good too. And, you know, having our own employees follow the same quarantine procedure for everyone, you know, is another thing that we never really looked at. You know, some say quarantine for 10 days, some 14. We've got kind of a mixed bag. I think it'd probably be good for department heads to know the whole standard.
So do we need a motion on for something?
No,
like
we
that?
can't. This isn't an action item. This is just something I wanted to bring up.
We should unlock the doors and have somebody down there, either Dylan or a volunteer, or else, you know, it won't work. We need somebody at the door. And
I think this can be done by consensus. I don't think we need to have an action on any of it.
no, I don't think so either.
But Jess, can you put together a schedule of when Dylan or somebody's going to be at the door so we can see what kind of voids or gaps we have?
I'll work with Donna on that.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, just a last comment about the quarantine and all. I mean, Carol does bring up a valid point there. However, sometimes that has been a little bit of a moving target. So it's as far as the recommendations coming forward. So
yeah, I think they've had new ones.
Situations can be depends upon the factors. It can vary a little bit.
I think they shortened it up is what happened, didn't they? They went from 14 to 10 or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it depends upon when you had your test as compared to your exposure as to how long then your return date. And yeah, but she did bring up a valid point on that. We need some consistency, but it has been a bit of a moving target. I'll work with Donna on a schedule and see what we can come up with as far as when we're, just for clarity at my end then, are you taking this up at your next meeting or is this something that I just need to schedule the door to be open now? I'm not sure what it is you're telling me.
Consensus of the board. We don't need an action item.
Effective
Next month.
ASAP? I don't know.
Next Monday?
We'll start next Monday.
Go with next Monday.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Monday's a holiday, so we'll keep it locked.
Oh, Carol,
Okay?
it'd be a great test day to see.
It might.
Yeah.
Lock it when nobody's there. That's a great plan.
So the COVID, do you like, would you like a 14-day put on there, a max for everybody in the county? Or how would you like to do that for your county employees? You want a 10-day max or a 14-day max? How do you want to go about?
Well, I think we have to follow what and we do, everybody I think is doing their best to try to follow the, whatever contemporary standards are with the Department of Health and the CDC.
Right.
And so we monitor that.
14 days, 10 days, and 7 days. It all depends on the on what the situation is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it would be good for the department heads to receive, some kind of information about it. Because then I'm walking down the hallway and then I hear the next day that, so-and-so, I don't know.
Well, that's just it. You test positive the next day. Well, you didn't know it then. So, I mean, how do you?
Yeah, and
it's only as good as the tests are done. So, I mean, it's not going to be 100%.
Yeah, and contract tracing was pretty much impossible.
And if you do get test positive, the Department of Health calls you and they tell you what day you can go back to work or go back to your normal activity around people. So they'll give you the exact day. Once you've told them your whole story, they give you the exact day you can come back to work.
Yeah, I mean, it depends upon when the person you might have been exposed to, they're on set, whether the person, there's so many factors. I don't think we can just.
Yeah.
We'll do our best. So next Monday?
Tuesday.
Or Tuesday, next Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg, we need a report from you.
Yeah. I had a SEMCAC meeting last night. You probably knew about that. You were helping them out yesterday, I think it was. You were helping.
Yep.
You were down there quite a bit.
Yep.
Nice of you to help out. But everything's going good there. Finances are hanging in there real well. They got somebody retired from Freeborn and they're trying to replace him, but they had little discrepancies on that. So that kind of got a hold for right now. But outside of that, it's going good. I guess only other question I got is how are we doing, Teresa and Eric, with our solid waste? Have we decided to hire somebody or what's going on down with that?
We have somebody in there for an interim to help out with Dan and Dennis. We had one meeting on the reorganization of the whole department and nothing's come of it yet. So it's still in the works.
All right. Anything else, Greg?
That's about it for right now, I guess.
Dewey.
Well, not much going on up here. I attended a emergency communication meeting yesterday and the strategic planning and found out a lot about what goes on. Point of information, commissioner from Fillmore County is now the chair of that group. So that was interesting. There's some GIS funds still remaining available for our county, and the secretary up there said that's common to have some funds left over. You got a year to spend them, so I'm sure they're looking at what's needed over there at the communication center. And something came up, and I guess the question is, I was informed and invited to a city council for a TIF that's coming up here in La Crescent, and other than being invited, is there anything that the county needs to do, or do they send that up to the county when it becomes a TIF to record, I assume?
No, it county does not get involved till it's done deal. So
When it's a done deal, they notify the county of how to do the taxation, I assume.
right.
Yes, we should get, we'll get letters from the attorney's office and from the city, I'm sure, when that time comes.
Yeah, it's next month, but I was it was pretty formal, and I even have to sign that I received a notice and send it back. It's a third-party business that's notifying people of it. It just so happens to be a building I used to own that they want to tear down, but I guess I don't have to have ties to it anymore.
Yeah.
So Donna, with regard to a TIF, the tax increment financing, if the city approves it, I mean, the school has to approve it or deny. Does the county have the option of denying the TIF, or do we have to go along with what the city says?
Carol, can you help answer that one? I don't think we have any options. Do we, Carol?
Not really, no.
Well, that's the way it's always been, you know, for La Crescent there, like on that new hotel that they have the final say on that.
I just took a training on this for EDA, yeah, and it's my understanding that a TIF, if the city approves it, the county, we don't have a say as the county, is my understanding.
Yep. Just like Spring Grove's had one.
Yeah.
Yep.
In years past, when I was involved with TIFs, is basically it's affecting the tax for the city, for the local government. It does not affect other levels, to my understanding.
It does affect the county.
Adversely?
It takes that money and it goes to the TIF district rather than the county receiving it, you know, like regular taxation. It takes the appreciated value. So, you know, we're collecting taxes on the base value. The appreciated value, the amount that's calculated in between there, goes to the TIF district. So, in effect, we don't get a benefit of any increase in value with the development of a TIF district until the TIF district ends.
That's right. That's right. When it's over with and it's, yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
I was wondering, Allison, how are you coming with your money that you're distributing to businesses? Are they signing up?
They are signing up. We have, I don't have the exact number because it was a busy morning, but I think we're over 30 applications now. So, and it will close on the 19th. So we have over a week yet to get applications in.
And it should be mentioned too that EDA, we discussed it, and after learning some new information, we decided to raise the from 5,000 to 7,500 per applicant.
Oh.
A lot of these businesses that were expecting to get direct payments never got them because they didn't meet the 30% threshold. So, you know, some missed it by just 1 point. So we felt that maybe, you know, it'd be nice to give them a little extra money to help them out because they're not getting a direct payment from the state.
Right.
Does the application ask if they got some of the direct money from the state? Or is it 7,500 and whether they got money from the state or not?
We do ask if they did or not, just for informational purposes, but it doesn't affect how much they can get. What we're hearing is that those that did receive a direct payment, because they truly met that 30%, their direct payment still is not enough and they do need additional on top of that. But then of course, there's also some that didn't receive it. So we are asking the question for our informational purposes, but it's not affecting how much they can ask for.
Everybody's gonna get 7,500 then,
If they ask.
if they ask.
Up to, yep.
Good.
Okay. Then I'll make my report. I had a community service meeting this morning with Health and Human Services and the VSO, Robert. Human Services has already reported about just about everything that we talked about this morning. The one thing that I will mention from the Veteran Service Office is that with that new facility that they built out at the Valley View Mall, that has been a benefit as far as transportation, because everybody that had to go was always going to Toma. Now in their audio and their visual, the things that they're doing, they can go to La Crosse instead of having to go all the way to Toma. So it's shortening up our transportation issues and increasing the amount of people that we can bring over because we aren't spending so much time driving. So it's increased a little bit the number of people that are being taken and getting, work, whatever necessary is taken care of as far as that's concerned. So the transition has been nice as far as that's concerned. The only problem is Toma VA has no director, and the assistant director has now left the Toma VA, leaving the Toma VA with no director. The La Crosse facility is a satellite of the Toma VA, so that there's a lot of disarray as far as the VA is concerned in this area. But the La Crosse facility has been very beneficial in that regard. That's my only report. Anything else from any of you guys? Otherwise, I'm going to move forward to the closing for the public comment, if that's all right. Don't hear anybody negative. Any public comment? I don't see anybody on the line other than 7154. Hearing no public comment, we would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Hearing none, we'll vote by roll.
District 1?
Yes.
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 5?
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
You guys have a nice week.